Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. On this 30th day of May 2021, I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, we've got hazardous weather graphics, and there are no watches, warnings, or advisories out anywhere in the state, except for some marine gale warnings, but as far as public watches or advisories go, nothing going on, breakup about over, and so looking pretty good with regard to that around the state for the next 2 or 3 days. As you can see, North Slope looking good, no, definitely north storminess up there, and the winds have come down over the interior that we saw, but still a little breezy in some areas. Lucian's looking good. So going to satellite imagery, you can see the moisture breaking up as it lifted northward from actually over the Copper River Basin. On the last frame there, got a little bit of a low pressure circulation there off the Yukon Delta coast, but breaking out into sunshine there north of the Alaska Range there, west of Fairbanks, up toward the central Yukon River there, and also along the Brooks Range and southward there. A little bit northern Kobuk, Koyukuk valleys into the Noatak Valley, some sunshine up across Arctic Village. And then another band of weak band of moisture, weak trough, brought a little bit of light snow to the central Arctic coast this afternoon. Point Barrow got about 1/100th of an inch of water equivalent light snow, flurry, fog type of weather going on there. But you can see how the brightness of the clouds over the Copper River Basin earlier, that brought a pretty good amount of 24-hour rainfall amounts are pretty significant. Paxson had a little over an inch in a 24-hour period ending earlier today, and right on up into the upper Tanana Valley had some pretty good amounts as well, but that's all kind of tapering off today. As you can see, the clouds really falling to pieces there as it lifted northward to the Yukon Flats. There was a few scattered showers up in that area. Otherwise, kind of showery for the North Gulf Coast, but nothing too terribly heavy. Had about 1/10 of an inch of rain at Cordova today, and 3/10 of an inch fell at Sleepmute in the Kuskokwim Valley, while Metlakatla in the Panhandle had picked up 8/100ths of an inch, and then let's see, 1/4 of an inch fell at Hoona. So nothing heavy, but at least the southern Panhandle got a little bit of moisture today, and but the heavier stuff is up to the north there. Also for the Alaska Peninsula, kind of breezy conditions still over the interior. Scammon Bay gusts now south-southeast with that low center, gusting up to 30-35 miles an hour. And that low also kicked the winds up south coast of the Seward Peninsula. Nome to Teller, seeing gusts 30 to 35 miles an hour as well out of the east-northeast. But lighter winds most everywhere else today over what we saw the last couple of days, especially over the interior. St. George Island, gusts 36 miles an hour, but precipitation pretty light out in that area as well. So a little bit more of a wind producer than precipitation producer there with that system over the Alaska Peninsula, and then the one up off the Yukon Delta coast. And rolling that through again, you can see the moisture lifting into the Panhandle behind the main front that's pushed well into British Columbia and weakened. The trough lifting about right over the central and northern areas of the southeast coast, where the precipitation was a little heavier than down to the south. And on the chart today, you can see that trough earlier today was still off the coast there. It's actually lifted a little farther northward and inland, and again that bringing the light rain, keeping it unsettled for the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound area, and some breaks there. Looks like Kodiak Island may have been an isolated shower or two over the mountainous terrain there, possibly up into Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay. Isolated showers sit in the valley to the Alaska Range. The Alaska Range is basically dry. Over toward the Wrangles, might have had a few showers also up there with the remnants of that trough really washing out, but still a few showers probably worked their way up. Let's see, Eagle picked up 1/100th of an inch of precipitation, so pretty light with that. It was heavier earlier over the 40-mile country, as I mentioned. But out over the Bering Sea, some scattered showers there, St. Lawrence Island, off the Yukon Delta coast, and Kuskokwim Delta, a few showers, Togiak Bay. Same thing there with both Togiak and Dillingham picking up about 1/10 of an inch of precipitation today. But look at the clear skies out over the Bering Sea, Pribilofs, mostly clear, all the way down Adak and Atka and south of there. A little bit of fog showing up, and fog will continue to increase in clouds over the Bering Sea from what you saw the last couple of days there. So that's kind of a last look at the widespread clearing that went on out there. Also, the Bering Straits into the Chukchi Sea in the northwest coast, some sunshine showing up over the northern interior, central interior. Also, sunshine breaking out this afternoon now in the Tanana Valley around the greater Fairbanks area. Rise into the mid-60s today. Lower 60s popping up. Copper River Basin area pushing towards 60. And for tonight, we'll see that low south of the Alaska Peninsula stays close enough to keep a chance of rain and fog and drizzle going there for the western peninsula to the Fox Islands. Isolated showers west of the Pribilofs, probably dry for St. Paul, St. George. Definitely dry with high pressure and some clear skies there for Adak, maybe Atka, out toward Shimia. And still, again, disturbances dropping around that Arctic high north of Wrangel Island, bringing a few surges or skiffs of flurries and fog into the eastern central Arctic coast North Slope areas, but nothing really significant. Wind and rain on the increase, tightening gradient there ahead of that 1,002 millibar low and frontal boundary, west-southwest of the south coast of the Panhandle. We'll see for tomorrow that washes out, swings up, and is a trough, weakening that first one, and then another front swings up toward Kodiak there, kind of replacing it with the main low center staying south of the Alaska Peninsula. So periods of rain continue for the peninsula of that front. We're up right along the coast, but pretty weak. And a little breezy, but nothing too terribly bad, heavy wind-wise. Shower chances a little better for the Pribilofs tomorrow than they will be tonight. And thermal low actually kind of developing, meaning there's no precipitation of that 1,001 millibar low. And trough axis into the Yukon, maybe a few showers there toward the eastern border, but nothing significant. Chance of showers, mountainous terrain, Copper River Basin, periods rain in the Panhandle. Still snow and flurry conditions there with northeast flow, and actually there is an upper level trough continuing to affect the Arctic coast and the eastern and central North Gulf, or Arctic coast. And then for Tuesday, it looks like that pattern continues there with that high still north of Wrangel Island, and that northeast flow coming around that high keeps bringing surges of light snow, fog, and clouds into the central and eastern Arctic coast and into the North Slope. Kind of enhances a little as it due to the upslope conditions of the Brooks Range here on the north side. Chance of showers, Koyukuk Valley, maybe a little bit better chance afternoon showers over the Yukon Flats to the eastern border there. But mostly sunny with offshore flow. North to northeast flow keeps it clear. Chukchi Sea, Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, Seward Peninsula, mostly sunny or just flat out sunny, a little breezy. And then showers along that trough axis with the 998 millibar lows in the interior. Any one of those showers could develop into an isolated or scattered thunderstorm or two along that trough axis or just to the south, especially over the mountainous terrain, getting into the lower Yukon River Valley area and maybe the Kuskokwim Mountains. Otherwise, mostly cloudy, cool, scattered showers, Kodiak Island, Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet, North Gulf Coast, chance of showers, Copper River Basin, chance of rain over the southern Panhandle with more of a showery condition for the northern southeast coast. Aleutian's still looking pretty good. That weak low there keeps a risk of some shower activity for the Pribilofs, but most of that's will stay north of Adak and Atka, but it is very close. Otherwise, the trough will result in showers or light rain at times for the Alaska Peninsula that'll extend up into Togiak Bay, and showers for Dillingham over to possibly King Salmon, and more so for Kodiak. And taking a look at the low temperatures for tonight, mid to upper 20s for the North Slope and the Arctic coast. Into the Brooks Range, mid-20s to lower 30s, 32 forecast low there at Arctic Village, 26 Anatuvik Pass. But south of the mountains, in the 40s, lower 40s, Kobuk Valley, Koyukuk Valley to the Yukon Flats, and upper 40s around Fairbanks. And higher elevations, upper 30s there, Alaska Range, Copper River Basin near 40, otherwise 40s for southern Alaska. Kodiak Island, mid-40s, mid to upper 30s there for the Pribilofs, western central Aleutians, mid-40s for the Alaska Peninsula, 45 to 50 for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow, 65 to 75, call it, in the central interior, and 65 to 71 for the Susitna Valley, 55 to 65 Kenai Peninsula, mid-60s Copper River Basin, and upper 50s to lower 60s for the Panhandle, near 50 Kodiak Island. In the 40s, lower to mid for the Bering Sea, Alaska Peninsula, 45 to 50. And 52 now for Arctic Village, and in above freezing, right around the frost point there for the central Arctic coast, but other areas near 40 again, like today, over the North Slope. And lows for Tuesday morning in the 20s there for the Brooks Range on out to the Arctic coast, and near 30 for the northern Bering Sea from Shishmaref, upper 20s to 30 at Teller, 30 for St. Lawrence Island, add 10 degrees to that for the Pribilofs, 30s, lower 40s for the Bering Sea, 40 southern Alaska to near 50 southern Panhandle. Highs Tuesday afternoon, 65 to 75 again, call it for the central interior there along the Yukon-Kuskokwim River Valley areas to the upper Tanana Valley. And 55 to 65, south central Alaska, Susitna Valley areas could push 70, 71, and 50s to lower 60s for the Panhandle. Up north there, 30s for the North Slope to near 40, and then lower 30s right along the Arctic coast. Have a great evening.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on to first line weather graphic Monday morning. We've got IFR there from the northwest coast eastward along and just south of the Brooks Range all the way out to the Arctic coast. Marginal VFR Point Lay to, say, Wainwright. And then IFR to the Bering Strait, marginal St. Lawrence Island. IFR, Bering Sea, but VFR, Amchitka and Adak, Pribilofs IFR, Eastern Aleutians, from Matka to Ekwin Island, and marginal VFR for the Alaska Peninsula. IFR just to Sitkinak, Kodiak Island, otherwise marginal VFR from there on up into central Cook Inlet and western Cook Inlet to the eastern slopes of the range there, and southeast interior, mostly marginal, a little bit of VFR. VFR all along the Yukon-Kuskokwim River valleys, and IFR, North Gulf Coast from Prince William Sound across the Panhandle. Afternoon, shaping up, well, a little bit of improvement. Marginal VFR now for the North Slope Arctic Coast. VFR, Brooks Range southward to Cook Inlet, Bristol Bay. Marginal VFR there along the southwest coast to the Bering Strait. IFR now St. Lawrence Island, Pribilofs, but VFR from Adak all the way out to the Komodorskis. And IFR south coast of the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, North Gulf Coast, all the Panhandle socked in with IFR. And then for the Tuesday morning outlook, we've got a band of IFR there, North Slope from the Point Hope, Cape Lisburne area to eastward there to, looks like, toward Mackenzie Bay. And then south of the Brooks Range, marginal becomes VFR through the central interior, all the way down to the Kuskokwim Delta and Bay, even into the Togiak Bay looking VFR. Still IFR for the Pribilofs, St. Lawrence Island, most of the Bering Sea, all of the Aleutians, all of the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, IFR up into just north of the Forelands and Cook Inlet, and extending up in the upslope areas of the Alaska Range, Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast Panhandle, all IFR. And then for the afternoon, Tuesday, IFR, Central and Eastern North Slope and Arctic Coast, IFR, Gulf of Alaska, Panhandle, Prince William Sound to about Resurrection Bay, Southern Kodiak Island, South Coast of the Alaska Peninsula, and then a band extending northeastward there right up into Togiak Bay, maybe Dillingham, and VFR, Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, Northwest Coast, Eastern Interior, IFR, pretty good batch out there over the Bering Sea, covering still most of the Aleutians except for Unalaska Island. And then for passes Monday, tomorrow, passes Anaktuvik starting out marginal and becoming VFR. Same forecast for Adigan, marginal VFR to VFR. And for the Lake Clark and Merrill passes, looking good tomorrow, VFR all day. Same forecast for Rainy, good VFR. And windy VFR, maybe some clouds around, but it'll stay above the threshold for marginal VFR, that's for sure. And Isabel VFR, Montesta VFR, Antonita VFR with the Portage. Marginal VFR to start and then becoming VFR. And then for Chilkoot and White, well, actually, Portage probably will be marginal throughout much of the day. Could be a little bit better in the afternoon. But Chilkoot and White, IFR from start to finish Monday. And then for the freezing levels, we've got 2,000 feet in the North Slope. They're right up to near the Brooks Range. And then 6,000 feet, Central Eastern Interior, become 8,000 feet there. Northern Panhandle, 10,000 feet into Dixon Entrance, 2,000 feet over the central Bering Sea there. A little cooler air aloft. And for the icing, got some considerable moderate rime icing moving into the central and southern part of the Panhandle there. Maybe some up along the eastern North Gulf Coast near Yakutat. Otherwise, just a slight threat possible there of mixed icing North Slope, Central Arctic Coast, as well as Kodiak Island. And for the jet stream, we've got low pressure out over the central Bering Sea, 60, 65 knot winds around that. The main jet cutting in is well to the south of the forecast area angling back up southwest flow, 105 knots into the Queen Charlotte's, about 70 knots into the Panhandle, and 40 to 60 knots southwesterlies over the northeast interior. 9,000 feet, 25 to 35 knot winds with that Bering Sea low, and then 35 to maybe 50 knots for the Panhandle, or 40 to 50 knots. Strongest winds near Dixon Entrance, 3,000 feet. Pretty brisk there along the Panhandle and the North Gulf Coast. Narrow band of some pretty good winds, 40 knots just south of the Alaska Peninsula. Turbulent surface to 4,000 feet, western Arctic coast, Noatak Valley, and occasional moderate chop, Panhandle, North Gulf Coast, Alaska Peninsula, and Sitkinak.
We have a big solar flare coming in, so we're out here on an aurora hunt. It's a CME, it's dynamite, coronal mass ejection. It's when the sun, it kicks off energy and these explosions that are larger than the Earth, explosion type things coming off of sunspots. And if that energy is pointing straight at the Earth, it gets caught up in our magnetic field, and that energy, electrons, come down our magnetic field, collide with oxygen up there about 50 or a couple hundred miles high, and that's what generates the northern lights. My job as the photographer and the aurora hunter is to be in position, you know, location, location, location. And I like to think I'm composing. Mother Nature, it's a bit of a teamwork thing, you know, she's got to put on the show, but I have to be in the right position and of course with the right tools and the know-how. I've stopped keeping track of how much time I spend out here in terms of hours. It's more in terms of weeks or months, or at this point years now. You know, it was always in me. Even when I was a kid growing up in the lower 48, I would spend nights sleeping on our trampoline, just staring at the stars. I'm in 4th grade and I'm going, wow, look at those stars. And I'd see how many nights in a row I could sleep on the trampoline. And I think my record was 23 nights in a row. So I was doing kind of strange things for an Iowa country boy. I can remember specifically the very first time I saw the Northern Lights. It was 1989, the peak of the solar cycle, and I was going to graduate school in Laramie, Wyoming. And all of a sudden we had heard the Northern Lights were out. It's like, what are those? I'd never really seen them before. And my goodness gracious, we were on top of a mountain in the Laramie Range and they were turning blood red. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And the very first picture I took, that was 1990. Now, an old film camera, Pentax K1000 on a plastic Kmart tripod. Took 2 shots on slide film and got them back. And I thought, oh my gosh, this beautiful green thing swirling about. And from that moment, I was hooked. When I realized that you could preserve the auroras on film, I just experimented a ton. I'd had a heaping stack of slides, the no good ones. The experiments gone wrong, you know, too dark, fuzzy, out of focus, too light. I had this huge garbage can full of excess slide film, and that was just the learning curve. Well, when I go out here, it's all about getting the shot. And my wife and I, we've called it the hero shot. But the hero shot is the one where you just come home and you go, look at this. And everyone goes, wow, and you feel like a hero. It's a wonderful feeling, you know. It's good for the ego, of course. It's good for the business. But if you kind of strip that away, it's good for what's inside of you, because that's really the hero moment in nature. And Mother Nature's putting on this show that is just mind-blowing. It's unbelievable. When I first resigned from my day job, that was in 1996, and decided I wanted to become a full-time aurora hunter, my goal from that moment and to this day still is to get 1 hero shot a year. I figured, and I'm talking the kind that somebody wants to buy from you and hang on their wall, where the auroras are extremely bright, very active, turning colors, where you can't believe your eyes. If you get to preserve a little sample of that with a photograph, well, it's what we call the hero shot. Wow, what a feeling. I mean, you're elevated, levitating, you're lifted up. Your spirits are so high that I love that feeling. And I think I get that so much from seeing cool things in nature that I will go way out of my way to find that. And I can, the next day, well, I'll be just laying there thinking about it and thinking how lucky I was or how fortunate. Of course, I just spent 2 weeks sitting there staring at the sky and not seeing anything, so you got to remember that luck is kind of a relative term, but I still just feel incredibly lucky to be even in a position to where I could have been there, taken a photograph of it, and just mainly experienced it. Well, that feeling could last for days.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at today's sea ice analysis. Thinning out there through the Bering Strait and off the western Arctic coast. So even on the central coast, thinning out a little more slowly. And for Norton Sound, that area open water continuing to expand, especially along the south coast of the Seward Peninsula. And it looks like not much in the way of any ice now south of St. Lawrence Island. Coastal water forecasts shaping up like this for tomorrow. We've got small craft advisories on the central and north coast. Central coast 25 to 30 knots out of the southeast, mostly east, northeast, east, southeast 30 knots on the north coast. Seas around 10 or 11 feet. 20 knot winds. South coast seas 10 feet. Small craft advisories for Clarence Strait, southeast 25 with 8-foot seas there. And central northern inside waters, Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay, Stevens Passage, and other areas south at 10, seas slide at 2 feet. And for Tuesday, inside waters of the Panhandle, south winds 10 to 15 knots, 3 to 4 foot seas, northwest 15 on the south coast, and central coast, south to southeast 10 to 15 knots, and then small craft advisories up north there for the north coast, south 25 knots, seas 8 feet. And for Prince William Sound, light northeast winds tomorrow, variable to northeast 10 knots, seas slight, northeast 15, Cook Inlet 4 to 6 foot seas. Small craft advisories, western North Gulf Coast and the Barren Islands, east northeast 25 knots, seas around 8 feet. Kamishak Bay east at 20, east 20 knots also for the area around Middleton Island. And that holds pretty much stationary status quo. East winds 20 knots for the eastern North Gulf Coast, light winds 10 knots out of the east for Prince William Sound, northeast breeze at 10 for Cook Inlet, southeast 20 for western North Gulf Coast, Barren Islands, and Kamishak Bay east at 15. Kodiak Island, small craft advisories tomorrow, northeast to 25, Chillicothe Strait, otherwise east to 25, seas 8 feet. Gale warning, Sitkinak to Cape Sarachev. Sitkinak to Castle Cape will be out of the east 35 knots, Castle Cape to Cape Sarachev, northeast 35 knots, seas around 13 feet. Bristol Bay and the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula, northeasterlies at 20 knots, 3 to 4 foot seas. Outlook for Tuesday, Kodiak Island, northeast 15 knots, 4 to 6 foot seas, east 15, Sitkinak to Castle Cape to Cape Sarachev, winds east at 10 with 7 foot seas, and north side of the Alaska Peninsula there, southwest 15, seas only at 3 feet, Bristol Bay east of 15, seas only 1 foot. And then for the let's start with Unalaska Island, northerlies, 20 to 30 knots tomorrow with 12-foot seas on the Pacific side. Unmak Island, northwest 15 to 20, Adakanatka, northwest 15, and Amchitka, Kiska, Shimia 2, northwest 10, seas 5 feet, really laying down. And that holds through Tuesday. Well, it doesn't, actually, they come up a little bit, 5 knots. We'll go north 15 knots, Shimia to Kiska Island, Amchitka, northwest 15, Adakanatka down to 10 knots out of the northwest, 4 to 6 foot seas. And let's see, variable to west winds for the Fox Islands at 10 to 15 knots, the seas running 3 to 6 feet. And for the southwest coast, Northeast 15 for the Yukon Delta coast, south of Nunivak Island, northeast at 20. Northeast 20 also for St. Matthew Island, northeast at 10 for the Pribilofs. Small craft advisory, St. Lawrence Island, north 25 knots. And those pick up even a little more, but don't quite reach gale force. But north of 30 knots, St. Lawrence Island, northwest 20, Yukon Delta coast, east 15, Kuskokwim Delta coast, Pribilofs, northwest 15, St. Matthew Island, north at 25. And up on the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, light winds out of the north, 10 knots, about 15 knots on the central coast. Then small craft advisories for the western Arctic coast, northeast 25, 5-foot seas, and north to northeast winds 25 to 30 knots from Cape Beaufort all the way down to Wales, seas running 5 to 6 feet. And those small craft advisories continue in those areas through Tuesday. Wales to Cape Beaufort, 30-knot winds out of the north and northeast, western Arctic coast, northeast 25 knots, falling back to 15 knots out of the northeast for the central coast, all the way eastward to demarcation point. For tonight, flurries and fog possible up there with a weak trough keeps dropping down around that Arctic high there north of Wrangel Island. Otherwise, the interior dry and variably cloudy with light winds. Chance of rain continues. Rain, fog, drizzle, North Gulf Coast. Rain on the increase along with some wind there for the Panhandle. And chance of rain, Alaska Peninsula, showers, eastern Bering Sea, west of the Pribilofs. For tomorrow, Memorial Day, wet and unsettled for the North Gulf Coast and Panhandle. Sunny, a little warmer in the interior. Still a chance of flurries, North Slope Arctic Coast. Chance of rain, Alaska Peninsula. Showers to the Pribilofs continue into Tuesday as well. Chance of thunderstorms along that trough axis in the interior. Otherwise, scattered showers down to the North Gulf Coast and the Panhandle.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.